Bitcoin just had its highest weekly close ever, but we are getting a little bit of a dump today ahead of FOMC, which is on Wednesday. Are we seeing a little bit of de-risking here, or is there a bigger dump to come for Bitcoin? In today's video, we'll be talking about this, going over the recent Bitcoin price action, talking about the news that can be impacting this market because we have a crazy week ahead, and I'll be telling you exactly how I'm trading this market. If you enjoyed the content, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe. Without further ado, let's jump right into the video. As per usual, taking a look at the Bitcoin price action, you can see that we got rejected at the top of this range once more. Very, very annoying, to be honest, because we were hoping for a breakout. But right now, what you can see here is that Bitcoin is still within the same range, and so it is not a cause for concern. If you're not a seasoned trader, then what I would recommend here is to not diddle in the middle, because we continue to chop around and a lot of traders here seemingly get wrecked. So what you want to pay attention to are these key levels. First of all, we have this turquoise level, which as I'm recording right now, is the point of control of this range. This is where most of the volume can be found. And so Bitcoin is trying to hold this level as support. However, if we fail to hold this level as support, there is always the possibility for us to come back down into this range. What I want you to pay attention to here, which is very, very clear, is that Bitcoin, first of all, hit that 123K level. Then the second time around, we hit 121. Then we came back and hit 120. And then we came back and we couldn't quite make it back above $120,000, which you'll remember was actually part of my take profit from my most recent Bitcoin long. I still think that we're going to get a breakout here. However, if we start coming back down and testing these levels, in my opinion, this is an excellent opportunity to add to longs. Now, how low could we potentially go if Bitcoin, first of all, fails to hold this level as support, which as you can see right now, we are still fighting hard to hold above this turquoise line? Well, technically, we could come back down into this fair value gap, which was the long wick that just occurred a few days ago where everyone was panicking. However, the market might not be so kind to give us this kind of opportunity to long Bitcoin. At least, this is my opinion. I think that Bitcoin will be moving out of this range. I know a lot of you have been commenting on my videos saying that you're actually more bearish than bullish. And the thing is, we do have a pretty substantial amount of events this week. What do we have tomorrow? The CB consumer confidence data, and we also have the June JOLTS job opening data. However, the most interesting data that we have here is actually the Q2 2025 GDP data, which is on Wednesday, along with FOMC, where we have the interest rate decision. Now, there's a lot of people that are saying that lower rates are around the corner. This is simply not the case because you can see that the odds for a rate cut are actually only 3.1%. It's more than likely at around 97% here that rates stay exactly the same. Now, I still think that Bitcoin will likely break up out of this range regardless of these rates, but I thought you should be aware because these kinds of influencers are telling you that rate cuts are around the corner when it's clearly not the case. Despite the fact that President Trump really has been adamant on rate cuts, Fed Chair Jerome Powell refuses to comply. Now, back to the Bitcoin chart. So, we got rejected several times. We haven't been able to form a higher high here. So, what am I looking at here? First of all, you can see that we have this ongoing battle at the point of control. Now, this is what I like to see, to be perfectly honest. Holding this point of control as support is what we would like to see for Bitcoin to go ahead, maybe chop around here, and then break out. Ultimately, we want to surpass, first of all, just under $120,000. But if we make our way to 120, 121K, there's a high likelihood, depending on the close, that we will make it and break a new all-time high. That is my base case. However, on my Bitcoin long, I would actually be shaving some profits over here because I still think, and you might remember this from my previous videos, that we will have some kind of significant low in the August-ish timeframe. The reason being, August is typically not the best month for crypto, and I'll show you the history to back that up. So far, as we wrap up July, you can see that this has been a very, very positive month for Bitcoin. However, on average, August is one of the only negative months in crypto. So let's see what happens, but the odds are actually not in our favor to explode on through August as a lot of people seem to be predicting. Now, I still think that we could break past this all-time high. However, if we start to fail below 123K after getting a little bit of a breakout here, then at that point, I would be preparing a little bit more of a cash position to buy the dip as we head into the end of the year. I do think we will likely have a significant dip, but I am still continuing to trade this range. If you're in my community, you know exactly my position, but basically this is what I'm looking at. I think we will break out, and right now, as I am recording this video, first of all, you can see that we continue to try to hold this point of control as support. I really like what I'm seeing. The reason why this is also seemingly bullish in the short term is because we did go ahead and fill the CME gap, which was formed. So we have this CME gap fully filled. However, we still have this further down CME gap, which you may want to pay attention to. We got a little bit of a wick into it, and it also coincides with the fair value gap that we've been talking about. Again, I don't think that in the immediate short term, we will dip down to these levels. But if we do, I would be adding to my Bitcoin long position. Now, what is next? Because you can also see that the total crypto market cap outside of the top 10 has actually started off the week with a red candle. This is also in line with my thesis that Bitcoin dominance will likely continue to increase. And what you can see right now is that on the day at least, we had a little bit more of a dump, and now this candle remains green. Let's see what happens, but my base case still is if Bitcoin continues to chop around in this range, again, altcoins do have the chance to show some stronger performance than Bitcoin. But when we have the breakout to the upside or to the downside for that matter, that is when Bitcoin dominance will continue to soar. Next thing I'm looking at here is also the fact that there is way more liquidity to the upside on this 1 week time frame. So could we maybe get a sweep here? I'm actually betting on it, surpassing $120,000 to take some profits on my Bitcoin long. And also, you can see that today, as Bitcoin started dumping, a lot of people started piling into shorts once more. Now, in line with FOMC, another major event that we have this week is the White House Digital Asset Report to be publicly released this Wednesday. That is on the exact same day as FOMC. A lot of people are now speculating that this will be a sell the news event. What can we expect with what's coming out here? First of all, I went ahead and asked Grok to sum it up for us. Basically, a proposed federal regulatory framework for digital assets. This includes governance of the issuance and operation of digital assets, such as stablecoins. It will cover provisions for market structure, oversight, consumer protection, and risk management to balance innovation with safeguards against risks like fraud and market manipulation. Very positive. Then, this is a very exciting part, the evaluation of a national digital asset stockpile. They're going to evaluate their stockpile, and perhaps we may see the recommendations as to how they can go ahead and accumulate some more of these cryptocurrencies, of course, without imposing anything on taxpayers. Let's see what happens here, but this also touches on the regulations and overall legislation of the crypto market. This is ultimately positive in my opinion. Regulation is a positive thing, despite what you may think. Now, this is good for the crypto industry overall. Base case here, I still think that Bitcoin will go ahead and trickle on up, but I don't think it will just be straight up from here. We will likely have an opportunity in August to buy at lower valuations. That is after Bitcoin likely tags this high around $123,000. I'm keeping my eyes on that. Obviously, no one has a crystal ball, but I am still in my Bitcoin long, and I will, of course, make sure to keep you updated as things develop. But right now, this range is chopping a lot of people out, and as soon as we get a couple of red candles, immediately everyone gets super bearish. The only time that I would really flip bearish here would be if we start to get closes back in the range below $112,000, which is the previous all-time high. At that point, we can start considering that we're going to consolidate back within that range before Bitcoin's next big move. But right now, that is certainly not what I'm going for. So long as we stay in here, things are looking positive, and if we start to tap into lower levels, I will likely continue to add to my Bitcoin longs. I hope that makes sense. And as I wrap up this video, if you want to trade with me, you have all of the links in the description down below. First of all, the first link brings you to my free Telegram community where I talk about some of my active trades, and you also have Bluffin and Weeks. With Bluffin, you get a fantastic reward. There's still some room available here. If you deposit $7,000 after signing up with me on Bluffin, you get a $1,000 bonus for free, simply just for making this deposit and fulfilling a couple of requirements, as you can see down below. All the details are in my links in the description down below. And that sums up today's video. Bitcoin is still in the range, just need to be a little bit patient to see when the breakout finally comes. If you enjoy the content, make sure to smash that like button and subscribe, and I'll see you in tomorrow's video.